Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Rage 2. I was one of the few people who actually didn't mind Rage 1 too much. It was kind of a punching bag in the gaming community. Maybe I don't have my ear to the ground as much as I used to, but I didn't remember hearing a lot about Rage 2. It seemed like most people were rather indifferent to it, at least in my circles. I don't remember much about the plot of Rage 1. Basically, there's some post-apocalyptic event. I think an asteroid hit the Earth or something like that, and you were put in cryogenic sleep or something. Anyway, you wake up from one of these arcs in Rage 1, and then I remember how Rage 1 ended is you activated all the other arcs, so then all the other people who were in cryogenic sleep woke up. Anyway, that's what I remember at Rage 1. The plot of Rage 2, it takes place with a different character, and you acquire a Ranger suit, and this suit kind of gives you some Iron Man abilities, and it also gives you a little bit of Star Wars Force abilities. And you can unlock these abilities by exploring this open world. And basically the plot is there's a big bad guy named General Cross who's trying to take over the wasteland, and we have to initiate Project Dagger to stop him. And Project Dagger basically involves 3 different of these leaders that you need to fulfill these tasks for in order to help initiate the plan of the Dagger Project in order to take down General Cross. It takes place in this post-apocalyptic wasteland that's very deserty, and there's bandits around, and it's very irreverent and wacky, and it kind of feels like I've seen this all before up to this point. I mean, Borderlands has been around for so long, even Rage 1, but there's been so many of these first-person shooters that takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, and I feel like maybe I'm a little jaded to the whole concept at this point. So Rage 2 doesn't really do too much to stand out above the competition. It's not a bad game, I enjoyed playing it, but it didn't really do anything to stand out, you know? So you have your open world, and there's a lot of marks all over this map that you can go and do. So sometimes there's bandit camps. Other times there are arcs that you can go to, and this is where you receive either a new weapon or you get a force ability or a suit ability. Either you like dash up to somebody and you punch them really hard using your suit, or you'll get up in the air, then you'll slam down into the ground. So you have these abilities that you can use in combat, as well as the gunplay. Of course, once I accessed the shotgun, I stuck with that because in all of these games, I always just like using the shotgun because I'm really bad at aiming with these games, especially using a controller over a keyboard and mouse. And so I feel like a shotgun is really nice for me because I can just walk right up to them, and as long as I'm close to them, I can blast them away. You can also upgrade these weapons, so of course I just maxed out the shotgun, and that's typically what I stuck with. But I also would use the assault rifle and the rocket launcher as needed. I didn't unlock all of the guns because you need to explore all of these different arcs in order to get all of these abilities and guns. And I did play a decent chunk where I would do all of these icons on the map, and I was not really focusing on the main story, but just working on upgrading my character. But I did hit that point where I could sense that the motivation to keep playing this game was starting to fizzle out. That's when I focused on the main plot rather than doing all of this side stuff that you can do. The vehicles are pretty fun to drive. I stuck mostly with the vehicle that you start out with, but you do have this option where you can take a vehicle that you find out in the wasteland and bring it back to your garage, and then you have access to that certain vehicle going forward. So I did typically stick with the one that you start out with, and then you can upgrade these vehicles as well using different resources. So I upgraded the basic starting one, but every once in a while I like to pull out my motorcycle because that was a lot faster and I could get to my locations a lot faster. One cool thing that this game does in terms of traversing to all these points on the map, is you can set one of these icons as like your main destination, and rather than just an arrow always pointing to that destination, it lays out a path on the road for you to follow, and I felt like that was really convenient, so I never got lost. It basically has these arrows all over the road, and as long as you're following the arrow, the GPS system in this game really works well. Now, as you're going to all of these different icons on the map, you are basically gaining favor with these 3 different leaders that you need to do tasks with. And as you do these certain tasks for them, then you can open up more projects, and these are basically upgrades for your own personal character. I feel like a decent amount of these upgrades should have just been given to you from the very start. Like, you can't reload when you're running at first. That's a whole upgrade skill that you need to do. And it's like, really? That's kind of just something that every first-person shooter allows you to do from the very beginning. Another one that was really annoying for me that I didn't unlock until late in the game, I didn't even know it was an option until like way late into the game, is you have these chests to gain more resources, whether it's money or Felrite to upgrade or buy upgrades. There's each icon, each location has a certain amount of chests hidden around, and when you're focusing is like you're clenching your fists, and it basically draws all the Felrite to you and reveals the locations of enemies. You can focus, but I always wondered, why doesn't it reveal the location of these chests for me? Because it doesn't give you the check mark on the location unless you have defeated all the enemies on that location, collected all the data pads, and collected all the chests in that location. And so it was really frustrating to me because I would spend such a long time looking for these stupid data pads or these chests, and I would eventually just give up and say, well, I guess I'm not going to get that neat little green check mark next to this icon because I can't find these data pads or chests. And it wasn't until late in the game I found out that that's like an upgrade that you have to spend resources on to upgrade to reveal the location of those items. So it's like, really? Come on, that should have just been given to you from the very beginning. It just seems like such a quality of life thing that in order to tie it to an upgrade it feels tedious, especially because you're going to need to progress further in the story. You actually have to meet these leaders before you can open up their projects. Navigating through the menu for some reason to find all these upgrades for your weapon or your suit or these projects, for some reason, I played this on the base PlayStation 4, so maybe that's why, and it wasn't optimized for the PS4, but it was super laggy. Like, anytime I pulled up that menu, I would try to go to the tab that I'm looking for, and I would have to wait, I'm not exaggerating here, like maybe 10 to 20 seconds to navigate to the tab that I want to find, because for some reason the menu just made this game chug. Visually, it's kind of what you would expect with this type of setting, very deserty, lots of brown, but I think that the developers of this game were aware of that sameness visual look because they blasted every single point of interest with purple. Purple is definitely the color here that is made to draw your attention wherever the developers wanted you to look. So the GPS system, all those arrows are purple. Any kind of switch is just splattered with purple. Any kind of point that you could grip and pull yourself up is purple. It's just tons of purple. And while I do appreciate the attempt to add a little bit of color to this, I maybe would have appreciated different environments as well. It seemed like you're either playing in a desert, in a swamp, or in a futuristic building. And so I would have liked a little more variety in terms of my visuals. It can't just all be browns and blacks and purple. I need a little bit more to keep me invested. If you're just rushing through the main story of this game, it's actually pretty short. Maybe like 12-ish hours. Now, you're not really expected to do that. You're expected to go to all these different icons and upgrade your suit all the way and do all the favors and unlock all the projects. And if you do that, this would be a decent-sized game, probably 30-ish hours if you are out to do everything like a completionist. And I do feel like I was fairly underleveled by the last run when you're heading to the big bad, because some of these basic guys can shoot these giant lasers at you and it would automatically take me down. So I felt like I could have spent a little more time upgrading myself, upgrading my defenses, my health, that kind of thing. But maybe they just meant for those lasers to be super deadly and you would need to dodge them. Honestly, those laser guys that they would scatter around gave me more trouble than the final boss. But I digress. You need to spend time upgrading your character, otherwise you will definitely feel underleveled. Overall, like I said, this isn't a bad game by any means. I felt the same way about Rage 1 as well. I didn't get all the hate that Rage was getting. I was just more, yeah, it's a fine game. It's fun. But even like the trailers for Rage 2 were really making fun of Rage 1. I can't really remember any specific examples, but the trailers were like, oh, we know Rage 1 sucked, but Rage 2 is awesome, you'll see. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what they said, but I kind of feel the same about this game that I did Rage 1. It's a fine game. Yeah, it's good even, I would say. But it doesn't really do anything to stand out and hold my attention. And I think spending a good 13, 14 hours on this is a good enough length where I'm still enjoying the gameplay, but I'm not feeling burnt out. I feel like if I spent many more hours than that, my attention would start to falter. I will give this game a 3 out of 5. I think it's a good game. And if you enjoy these first-person shooters with this RPG element where you're always upgrading your character and feel that sense of growth, I think you will enjoy this game. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions about Rage 2, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!